I never thought much of locking the door. We lived in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where nothing ever really happened. Jamie used to joke that we could leave the door wide open, and no one would notice. Maybe that's what made it easier to forget that night, just muscle memory, or maybe something deeper. I didn't know it then, but that unlocked door would become a turning point I couldn't walk back from. Jamie had left earlier that day, saying they'd be home late. Work, dinner, meetings, the usual excuses. I believed them, of course. We'd been together for nearly 7 years. Trust was supposed to be the one thing we didn't question, the one thing holding everything together when everything else started to feel like dust. Lately, we'd been drifting. Not in loud, dramatic ways. More like silence growing between sentences, kisses that felt like habits, conversations that hovered on the surface. Jamie was still kind, still thoughtful in the ways people can be when they're trying to keep the appearance of love. But I felt it, like something slipping just out of reach. It's hard to explain how you can miss someone who sleeps beside you every night. That night, I made dinner for one, watched reruns of a show we used to love together, and scrolled through my phone more than I should have. At some point, I went to bed alone. The rain had started, gentle at first, then stronger. I remember thinking how peaceful it sounded, how it reminded me of our early days, lazy Sundays, warm sheets, limbs tangled like we were afraid to let go. I didn't check the lock before I went to bed. I should have. But the thought never crossed my mind. I think I told myself Jamie would be home soon. Maybe I wanted to believe that leaving the door open was a way of welcoming them back. Love can make you do foolish things. Or maybe it wasn't love anymore. Maybe it was just habit. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the wind. I kept checking the time. Midnight. Then 1. No messages. Just silence. I didn't feel angry, not yet. Just tired. Tired of wondering whether I was imagining the distance, or if it had already swallowed us whole. Before I drifted off, I remember whispering into the empty room, "Come home." Just those 2 words. Not a demand, not even a plea. More like a hope. The kind you hold on to even when it's already crumbling in your hands. The door was still open. I didn't know what that would mean. Not yet. I woke up suddenly. No alarm. No noise I could clearly identify. Just a strange heaviness, like something wasn't right. The clock read 3:12 a.m. I sat up, listening. The rain had stopped. Everything was still. Too still. I told myself I was being paranoid, but when I walked out into the hallway, I noticed the faintest scent in the air. It wasn't mine. And it wasn't Jamie's usual cologne. It was something sweeter, unfamiliar. In the kitchen, there were 2 wine glasses in the sink. I hadn't used one. And Jamie wasn't supposed to be home yet. Or maybe they'd come and gone. I checked the front door. Still unlocked. Still slightly ajar. My heart started pounding. Not out of fear, but confusion. My mind raced with possibilities, each more absurd than the last. A friend stopping by? A neighbor? But who comes by unannounced in the middle of the night? Back in the living room, there was a jacket draped over the back of a chair. Not mine. Not Jamie's either. I knew every piece of clothing we owned. This one was different, sleek, black, unfamiliar. There was something in the pocket, a receipt from a bar we'd never been to, dated just a few hours ago. I wanted to stop. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation. But instincts don't lie. They whisper at first, soft enough for you to ignore. But if you wait long enough, they start to scream. I walked into the bedroom. Nothing seemed out of place at first glance. Then I noticed the pillow. My side of the bed had one long hair, longer than mine, and a faint lipstick mark near the edge. The kind that doesn't come from hugging someone, but from resting your head on a pillow after a long night. I stood there for what felt like hours, but it couldn't have been more than minutes. My breathing was shallow. I wanted to confront Jamie, but they weren't home. Or maybe they had been and left again. I didn't even know anymore. I felt like I was being played in a game I didn't realize I'd entered. I started remembering things that didn't matter before, but suddenly made perfect sense. The text Jamie quickly deleted one night. The shift in energy when I entered the room. The way their smile didn't reach their eyes anymore. I had brushed it off, blamed stress, work, anything but the truth. I picked up the unfamiliar jacket and sat down on the couch, holding it like it might speak. I stared at the door, still open, and wondered what else had walked through it when I wasn't looking. I wasn't ready to admit it yet, but deep down I knew. Something had changed. Something had broken. And I wasn't sure it could be fixed. I didn't sleep the next night. I didn't tell Jamie what I found. I just said I wasn't feeling well and stayed home. They didn't seem concerned, barely looked at me, just muttered something about a long day and disappeared into the shower. I watched every move, quietly. No questions. Just collecting silence and facts. I wanted clarity, not confrontation. When night came, I pretended to sleep early. Jamie said they had another meeting. Same vague excuse. Same empty smile. I nodded, said goodnight. At 1:47 a.m., I heard the door again. Soft, careful, like someone trying not to wake a sleeping partner. I didn't move. I kept my breathing steady, shallow, just enough to pass as asleep. Whispers. 2 voices. Low laughter. Then the unmistakable sound of a kiss. Not a quick goodbye kind. Intimate. Comfortable. Familiar. I felt frozen. My worst fear unfolding feet away, while I lay there listening to every second like it was being carved into me. They didn't go to the bedroom. They stayed in the living room, probably assuming I was asleep. I heard a name. Not mine. A nickname I'd never been called. Jamie laughed, soft, sweet, the way they hadn't laughed around me in months. That sound gutted me. Not because it was loud, but because it meant happiness. Real, raw happiness. The kind they no longer showed me. I stood, silent. I walked just close enough to see without being seen. There they were, Jamie and someone else, curled into each other like nothing else in the world mattered. I didn't know the other person. But that wasn't what hurt the most. What hurt was how easily Jamie gave them what I'd been begging for without a word. Attention. Intimacy. Touch. Connection. I didn't cry. I didn't gasp or run or scream. I just watched. I watched the way Jamie's hand moved across their back. The way they whispered something and both smiled. I wondered how long it had been going on. A month? Longer? Had I missed every sign? Or had I just chosen not to see them? Everything clicked in that moment. The distance. The half-hearted affection. The excuses. The unspoken goodbye that had already happened without me realizing it. I didn't need answers anymore. I had them. All of them. Served to me in real time, with no room left for denial. Jamie looked up for a second. Straight in my direction. But they couldn't see me. Not really. They hadn't seen me for a long time. I turned around and went back to bed, not because I accepted it, but because I finally understood. Some betrayals don't come with slamming doors or screaming fights. Some come in the form of soft voices in the middle of the night, slipping in through the door you left open, believing someone you loved would never walk through it with someone else. Morning arrived without warmth, the kind of cold that comes from inside, not the weather. I moved quietly, not out of fear, but detachment. Jamie was still asleep, their phone face down on the nightstand, like always. I stared at them for a moment, wondering how someone could sleep so peacefully while everything between us had rotted from the inside out. I made coffee. Not for them. Just for me. I needed the ritual, something normal to anchor myself. I didn't think about confrontation. I didn't want a dramatic scene, a storm of questions and lies. What could they say that I hadn't already seen with my own eyes? The truth wasn't hidden anymore. It had been laid bare in the way they touched that stranger, in the laugh I hadn't heard in months. There was nothing left to salvage. Love can't survive where trust has died. And I wasn't going to beg for crumbs of loyalty. I didn't need to hear reasons. I didn't want to know how it started, how long it lasted, or what I could have done differently. That door had been left open too long. And they hadn't just walked through it, they built a new world on the other side. I sat down and wrote a note. Nothing dramatic. No bitterness. Just truth. A few lines that would hurt more than yelling ever could. I told them I knew. I told them I watched. I told them I hoped whatever they were chasing was worth what they threw away. I didn't sign it with love. Just my name. Clean, Final. Free. I packed a bag. Essentials. The rest could stay. I didn't need to take everything. I wasn't running, I was reclaiming. I left the ring on the table. Not out of anger, but clarity. It didn't belong to me anymore. It belonged to the version of us that died quietly while I was busy believing we were still alive. When I walked out, I didn't look back. Not once. I didn't need to. I'd seen enough. Some people think betrayal feels like fire, but it's colder than that. It's silence after too many chances. It's finding out the person who promised to protect your heart left it out in the rain. Maybe I should have locked the door that night. Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything. But what I know now is this. Love doesn't need locks, but respect does. And when someone walks through the door you left open, not to return but to replace you, that's not love leaving. That's truth arriving. They'll wake up and read my note. They'll call. Maybe cry. Maybe deny. It won't matter. I've already gone. Some goodbyes don't need words, they just need a choice. And I made mine the moment I realized I was the only one still holding on.